Next on Sisterhood of the Second Act.
More than 12% of the United States population will develop problems with their thyroid. Gale, family nurse practitioner Beth Hite, educates us on thyroid health. Have you said to yourself, I should write a will? For many of us, that is as far as we get. Attorney Sarah Bidwell tells us why we should take that step and how it benefits those we love. We'll meet both women on this edition of Sisterhood of the Second Act, right after this.
Sisterhood of the Second Act is brought to you by looking for your first home or retirement home. Realtor Monica Nicely can help you find it. Whether you're moving in or out of the Roanoke region, call Monica 540-449-2019, 540-449-2019. Alcova Mortgage Loan Officer Jonathan Sweat helps you seal the deal with the loan to suit your needs with great rates and terms. Call Jonathan 540-314-8843, 540-314-8843.
Alcova Mortgage, Equal Housing Lender, NMLS ID number 40508, MLSConsumerAccess.org. Terms and conditions apply. All loans subject to credit approval.
I'm going to be an oak tree.
I think I'll be a dogwood tree.
My kids said they'd be looking for a thorny tree for me.
With Evergreen, you can be a tree. Our biodegradable urn combines your ashes, natural soil additives, and a native tree of your choice. Be a tree and grow for tomorrow.
I want to be a tree.
Learn more at evergreenmemorialtrust.com.
Step out the door with confidence, ready to conquer the day. Whether you are going to the cafe down the street or headed into work, you know you will always look your best in Cabby Styles. Your stylist, Darlene Marshall, will help you pick the styles that make you sparkle. And Cabby has styles for all body types. Call Darlene at 540-330-6819, 540-330-6819, and follow her on Instagram at Dapper Darlin. Pat Lucas is committed to providing independent financial advice to help women and their families save money during this tax season. Call Pat at 540-798-8104, 540-798-8104. Securities and investment advisory services are offered solely through Equity Services Incorporated, member FINRA SIPC, 4401 Starkey Road, Roanoke, Virginia 24018, 540-989-4600. Now from the Fox Radio Roanoke studio, here's Kathy Heberly.
Welcome to Sisterhood of the Second Act. I'm Kathy Heberly. It is estimated that 20 million Americans have some kind of thyroid disease. More than half of those impacted are unaware of their condition. Beth Hite is a family nurse practitioner with Gale Physicians Endocrinology. She joins us today to help us recognize thyroid issues. Thank you so much for being with us today. It's my pleasure. So where is your thyroid and what does it do?
Right, that's a great question. Okay, the thyroid is at the base of our neck. It has 3 lobes, so a right lobe, a left lobe, and the middle is called the isthmus. It is a hormone gland that secretes hormones to all of our tissues in our body to help regulate all of our systems.
Okay. So that's kind of an unusual place, isn't it, your neck, compared to where?
I know. Most people, when I see them, have never touched their thyroid gland.
And so that's very good. I guess the other thing is, how does your body feel when you have thyroid problems? Let's start, because that's what we want to learn here.
My goodness. The thyroid is a very small gland, but I tell my patients it's powerful.
Okay.
When you have a thyroid disorder, you have significant symptoms. The most common that we see are weight gain, weight loss, change in bowel habits, hair and nail thinning, heat and cold intolerance.
So quite a few things. You feel uncomfortable.
Yes, you feel uncomfortable.
In many different ways. And then a question is, what are some common thyroid problems, like the more common ones? And then you mentioned some things, some symptoms, but is there a particular way that those would present?
Right. We have over or underactive thyroid, so that's hyper or hypothyroid. I like to tell my patients hypo, everything slows down. So you gain weight really easy, you're cold, your hair falls out, you're fatigued, you cannot get enough sleep. Hyper patients feel hot, they lose weight without trying, they have a lot of palpitations, which is a big sign that usually brings them to the doctor to get checked out.
And how will they test you for this?
So, well, a family history will be done, and then we can draw blood work and a physical exam by your physician.
So we are talking with family nurse practitioner Beth Hite about thyroid health. And then how do you diagnose the thyroid problem specifically? Is it through these different tests besides? So it's not just a touching it.
No, it's not just touching. We will do the blood tests. We'll get a good family history. Your symptoms are a big factor.
All right.
We also do an ultrasound.
Oh, I
can
didn't
tell
know that.
a lot about your thyroid health and if you have nodules
or
cysts in the thyroid gland that are causing
it. Yes, absolutely. And how often should we be tested?
Well, women are more at risk than men, particularly after childbirth, so postpartum and during menopause we can develop symptoms.
Sure.
But a regular woman could be checked yearly with her family physician, just with a blood test.
With a blood test, okay. And should they also check your neck when you're there? Is that part of a physical?
A wellness visit.
A wellness
yes.
visit, okay. You did mention about loss of hair, but because so many women are affected and sometimes you don't know what is the cause of it, could that sometimes be a sign that you have it? What would be done about it, and how can we tell?
So hair loss can be from a number of things, especially in this time of COVID.
Yes.
They've related that there's a big hair loss after a COVID infection. But the thyroid, if your thyroid is off base, what's happening is you have significant hair thinning. With that, your thyroid is not telling your hair follicles to regrow.
Okay.
So significant hair thinning can happen. We will check you with blood tests, but to help that, biotin, multivitamins, a good regular, that can help. Yes.
Okay. That sounds good. And we're talking with family nurse practitioner Beth Hite about thyroid issues. What is the main cause of thyroid problems? Like, why do we start having all these problems?
Right. So, well, a lot is unfortunately genetics. Okay. Yes. Thyroid disorders do tend to run on the women's side of the family. Okay. Moms, daughters, grandmothers. So that genetics does play a role. Also, as I mentioned earlier, having babies.
I didn't know that.
Yes. We see a lot of postpartum thyroid disorders that do fortunately improve after your hormones settle down, but that's a big one. If you've had an acute illness, again, such as COVID, that can cause your immune system to weaken and your thyroid will misbehave.
Okay.
Yes.
Is it trying to compensate, or it's just confused?
It's confused, yes. It's not playing nice.
Oh. What types of treatments are available?
Right. So we do fortunately have medications. I'm sure most people have heard of levothyroxine or Synthroid that can help an underactive thyroid. There's also good supplements that we can take. Yes. There's been a lot of good research on selenium, vitamin B12, biotin supplements to help with hair. We also recommend a good, healthy diet, well-rounded, nothing in excess. Right. There's myths out there that gluten-free diets can really help women, but that's not true. Okay. Yes.
Well, I think any extreme, like even the keto, I've heard good and bad. Like they all good might be okay for a little bit, but nothing
permanent.
Right.
No, nothing permanent.
Right. I really like this. Are thyroid problems ever chronic conditions? It sounds like if you're on medication a long time, it's suspected.
Correct. If you have autoimmune thyroid disorders, that would be Hashimoto's or
Yes.
Graves' disease. Those are lifelong, but
Okay.
very well managed
Yes.
with medication and complementary therapies like we've spoke of. If you have a postpartum thyroid disorder, that typically improves.
Okay.
Same goes if you've had an acute illness and get diagnosed, that can improve as well as
Okay.
you get your health back.
That's very good to know. And we are talking with family nurse practitioner Beth Hite about thyroid health, which I think is affecting many, many people. And I think you might have alluded to this, but let's just put it out there. Are there any natural ways to boost our thyroid health?
Right. So, yes, we touched base here. A good sleep schedule,
Okay.
good stress reducers in our life. That's really
Okay.
difficult for women. We feel like
Yes.
we have to manage everything.
Yes.
But if take some time out to work on your stress reduction, because that does play a role on your immune system, therefore your thyroid health. Okay. Also the supplements that we've mentioned.
Selenium and B12.
B12.
I like that.
Yes.
Those are nice over the counters. I think everybody, I don't know if you could benefit from selenium. That's my.
I know. We have so
Unless
many
you eat
vitamin
tens of
deficiencies.
thousands of Brazil nuts a day.
Right. Oh, you know. Yes.
Oh, I take selenium.
Yes.
And I think as we're getting closer to the end, we talked about how we could maybe take natural things, but is there something like we can do besides reduce our stress where we can try to improve our thyroid health? I mean, obviously I know stress affects many areas of our body, and I know you mentioned sleep and a good diet. So it sounds like just kind of good healthy practices.
Good
what
healthy
about
practices.
exercise? Does that does that play a role?
That certainly plays a role. That helps.
Sometimes when you're tired because you have thyroid problems, you don't
can't even think about going to the
just
gym.
Can't think about it.
But I tell my patients, you don't have to go for an hour.
Just
10 minutes can make a big difference.
All right. So last question. It seems women develop thyroid issues as we age. Is that true, and why?
That does hold some truth. And as we have previously alluded, your hormones change again as we go through menopause. Yes. That big influx of hormones can cause a lot of disruptions, particularly in the thyroid gland.
I see.
Yes, so we see a lot of women 20 years old, 60 years old getting diagnosed with thyroid disorders. Very common.
So be aware of the symptoms that you had discussed here.
Aware.
Call your doctor if you need. If you haven't been in a check, make sure you get your blood checked.
Yes.
And I think that's part of why we want to encourage women to get an annual physical anyway.
Yes.
But these are some of the things you might not have thought to ask your doctor about or to bring up, They say, how are you doing? You just say, fine, without thinking about all of these little things. So that's really good. So I'll tell you what, this was brief, but it was very helpful, at least for me, and I think a lot of our audience. So thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
It's my pleasure to have you. And we will have contact information for Beth in our show notes at sisterhoodofthesecondAct.com. And when we come back, no one wants to think about writing a will. Doing so will save you your loved one's heartache and money. We'll learn more after the break.
I'm going to be an oak tree.
I think I'll be a dogwood tree.
My kids say they be looking for a thorny tree from me.
With Evergreen, you can be a tree. Our biodegradable urn combines your ashes, natural soil additives, and a native tree of your choice. Be a tree and grow for tomorrow.
I want to be a tree.
Learn more at evergreenmemorialtrust.com.
Looking for your first home or retirement home? Realtor Monica Nicely can help you find it. Whether you're moving in or out of the Roanoke region, call Monica 540-449-2019, 540-449-2019. Alcova Mortgage Loan Officer Jonathan Sweat helps you seal the deal with the loan to suit your needs with great rates and terms. Call Jonathan 540-314-8843, 540-314-8843.
Alcova Mortgage, Equal Housing Lender, NMLS ID number 40508, MLSConsumerAccess.org. Terms and conditions apply. All loans subject to credit approval.
Pat Lucas is committed to providing independent financial advice to individuals, families, and small businesses. Contact Pat at 540-798-8104. 540-798-8104. Securities and investment advisory services are offered solely through Equity Services Incorporated, member FINRA SIPC, 4401 Starkey Road, Roanoke, Virginia 24018, 540-989-4600. Once again from the Fox Radio Roanoke studio, here's Kathy Heberly.
Welcome back to Sisterhood of the Second Act. I'm Kathy Heberly. Do you have a will? If not, there are many reasons why you should create one. Attorney Sarah Bidwell is here to tell us who needs one and why. So thank you for coming in today.
Thank you for having me.
It's my pleasure. I'm very excited to have you here. And I guess let's just get right into it. Why is having a will important and who needs one?
Absolutely. So anyone over the age of 18 needs a will. I know people don't normally start thinking about them until either after they have children or later on in life, but it's important to have a will at any point in time. And as far as how to be able to have that, that's where you'd reach out to an attorney to be able to prepare that for you.
I think that's really important. I don't myself. I know that they have kind of do-it-yourself things, but especially if you've got an 18-year-old, you gave me an example of that, and I thought it was really something that parents don't think of, but they could be going away to college.
Yes.
Far away. So that's one of the reasons, or they're considered an adult.
They are. They are considered an adult, no matter how much help they may need.
That's right.
And that's why it's important for parents to be able to still make decisions on their behalf if that's what they choose to do.
So basically anybody over the age of 18.
Yes.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense. And something I think a lot of us weren't aware of. So thank you for sharing that. And then I would like to know, because one of the things, topics that we have a lot of interest in is like, how do people, when you talk about a will, some people have like estates, or there's estate planning, there's medical parts of all this. Could you tell us like what kind of documents and estate planning documents in particular are available to people in Virginia? And does it vary by state?
Well, as far as other states, obviously I'm barred here in Virginia. So for Virginia law, what we typically have is your will, which comes into effect after you pass.
Okay.
And that designates who your beneficiaries are, how you would like your assets to be passed, and in what manner. Then there's a second part, which is your power of attorney and your advanced medical directive. Okay. Now, those two documents are in place when someone is still alive, which a lot of people don't think about. They come in and they say, I want a will. I want a will. I'm like, okay, that's fine. But by the time we get to your will, a lot of stuff has happened in your life. So power of attorney allows someone to act as you. That's the best way to be able to explain it, is you are giving someone the powers to be able to do what you would normally do. Buy and sell real estate, make gifts, make loans, take loans out of the bank, access your bank accounts, access your mail, talk to the DMV and the utility company. Sometimes, utility providers are some of the most difficult to get a hold of if your name is not on that account.
That's right.
Or if you don't have power of attorney for someone for that.
So the power of attorney, is it my understanding that they don't take over unless you can't? Is that correct? Is that what, or do they just, what are the criteria for when that would take effect?
So there are two different types. So one, power of attorney would be in place immediately. So you could sign that, put it away safe. They don't know, but should something happen, that would be in place immediately.
Okay.
There's also another type that would be in effect upon certain conditions. And you can set that either to doctors, declare you, potentially incapacitated, you're unable to make decisions, a specific list of factors that you feel is necessary. And then the third document going off of, incapacitated is the advanced medical directive.
Okay.
And that is similar in that it allows someone to make decisions on your behalf, access your health reports, all of those things that are covered by HIPAA, access all of that information on your behalf, hire doctors on your behalf, speak with those doctors on your behalf. But that comes into place in the one that we have when someone is deemed incapacitated by at least 2 doctors.
Okay, thank you very much for that. And we are talking with attorney Sarah Bidwell about creating a will and some other important documents that adults should have. And another question that I would like you to just give us a little information about is, what is a trust?
Yeah. So a trust is a way for people to be able to control the flow of their assets, kind of the disposition of their assets after they pass, and also sometimes while they are alive. So if you are someone who has a more complex estate, you have a number of beneficiaries, potentially a large business that you would like to pass on to your family, a number of rental properties, all these different things, all these different things that can occur. And so a trust allows you to have more control over that for longer, and even after you have passed.
Okay. So in relation to this, I'm not sure if this falls under the trust, but before we leave the subject, is that something when you hear people like they can help protect some of their assets, is that part of that or is that a different?
That may be part of it. Each situation is different. They have a lot of different vehicles to be able to protect your assets. I know right now trusts are the trendy thing.
Yes.
You hear about them a lot, but I just want to make sure before anyone goes out and does that they consult with an attorney to make sure that that is what's best for them, because oftentimes a trust is significantly more expensive than other estate planning methods.
And I've heard that, so thank you for sharing that. And then if someone wants to use an online service, what pitfalls? I think we need to discuss that because it always sounds like such a easy option.
It does.
But we are not lawyers, so if any, what pitfalls should they be aware of if they're going to try to do this route?
Not to knock on any specific online service, but when you are using those, they could be pulling information from anywhere. In that, I mean, they could be using information from a different state's laws. Sometimes I see people come in with contracts or with things they've printed up and it says right in there, Nevada, or it's out of Utah, or it's out of New York, and that's great, but those states have vastly different laws in a number of different ways. So I would recommend if you choose to use an online service that you just do your due diligence and make sure that it's actually set for Virginia law. If you have the option to speak with an attorney, make sure they're a real attorney. Check online on the State Bar website to confirm that before you pay for those services.
I think that's very good advice. So getting back to a will, who makes sure my will is carried out?
So in your will, you would name an executor. Oftentimes people name their spouse as the initial executor, and then a substitute executor or executrix, which could be one of their children or another relative that they feel would be able to execute that.
As a backup type of. And is there a difference between the power of attorney and an executor or executrix?
Yes.
Do you have to have both?
No, you don't have to have both at all.
Okay.
So your executor of your will can only act after you have passed and can only carry out your wishes as they are laid out in your will. When you give someone your power of attorney and you name them as your agent, then they're able to do all sorts of things like we talked about earlier.
Okay, on your behalf.
On your behalf while you are still alive.
Okay, thank you. That's very important. And we are talking with attorney Sarah Bidwell about creating a will, and such an important topic. If you're, we heard that you are starting a new venture coming up in the new year, and it's, tell us about it. Do you want me to share the name, or why don't you tell us the name of it and what it's about, please?
Absolutely. So it is Wills on Wheels of Virginia. A lot of people think Meals on Wheels.
Right.
Kind of a, play on that name there. Wills on Wheels. And it is a mobile estate planning service.
Excellent. So you will go to people's homes, especially if they're not in great health or for any reason that they can't get out.
To their homes, to their place of business. I want to make it as easy as possible for people to have these documents and to make sure that they're prepared.
I think that is I think this is going to be such a huge and important thing to offer people, especially local people in this area. What area do you cover?
So I will be covering everywhere from Danville to Montgomery County, up to Botetourt, our area here in the Roanoke Valley, and all the way over to Lynchburg.
Well, that sounds like a really good thing. And what services will you be offering? And then what will people do? Just do they call to make an appointment? How does that work?
Yes, so I will be providing wills, power of attorney, advanced medical directives, those documents we talked about earlier. And in order to make an appointment, they could simply call or go online. I would schedule a consultation with them, an initial 30-minute consultation, and then from there set the actual meeting where we would sign everything.
Okay. Now, I'm not sure if this is important or not. Should they have somebody there as a witness, or is that not necessary?
At the signing, yes, they will need 2 witnesses. I'll provide the notary, but they will need 2 witnesses.
Okay, so that's another thing, that just so that you can have this all set up, and I'm sure you'll go over that with them when they call for the phone call consultation. So to wrap it up, will you be, or do you plan on offering virtual services as well, or do you currently? And what is that going to look like?
Yes, so the initial consultation can be virtual or it can be in the home, but I would prefer that the actual signing be in person. Right. Obviously, with COVID, the bar released some rules on electronic signing and mobile notary services. But I think it's best to be able to put a face to their attorney and be able to actually meet them at the signing, know that they've been provided services and documents, and then to leave like they have everything they need.
Okay, well, thank you so much. I think that it's really very such important information for us, and I think you've probably reminded people. It's something you always mean to get to, and it's on your to-do list, but let's get it done now.
Yes.
Let's get it done now.
It's a simple process. You don't need to have any of your account information. Now is the time to have those documents prepared. Well,
thank you so much for being here today, Sarah. It has been a real pleasure. And we will have Sarah's contact information in our show notes at sisterhoodofthesecondAct.com. And we'll be back to wrap up the show after this.
Kathy's wardrobe provided by Cabby stylist Darlene Marshall. See the styles in our show notes at sisterhoodofthesecondAct.com.
In a region known for its beautiful mountain surroundings, our vibrant arts community makes the Allegheny Highlands a more colorful place to live and visit. Our passion for the arts is endless, and it's uniquely Allegheny.
Pat Lucas is committed to providing independent financial advice to individuals, families, and small businesses. Contact Pat at 540-798-8104. 540-798-8104. Securities and investment advisory services are offered solely through Equity Services Incorporated, member FINRA SIPC, 4401 Starkey Road, Roanoke, Virginia 24018, 540-989-4600.
See where a grateful nation remembers its heroes, and where Thomas Jefferson came to relax. Where small town charm is just down the road from big outdoor adventures. Find peace and quiet, as well as the sounds of family fun. Destination Bedford is located where the Piedmont Plateau meets the Blue Ridge Mountains of Virginia. Where ordinary ends, Bedford begins.
Looking for your first home or retirement home? Realtor Monica Nicely can help you find it. Whether you're moving in or out of the Roanoke region, call Monica 540-449-2019, 540-449-2019. Alcova Mortgage Loan Officer Jonathan Sweat helps you seal the deal with a loan to suit your needs with great rates and terms. Call Jonathan 540-314-8843, 540-314-8843.
Alcova Mortgage, Equal Housing Lender, NMLS ID number 40508, MLSConsumerAccess.org. Terms and conditions apply. All loans subject to credit approval.
I want to thank Beth, Hite, and Sarah Bidwell for joining us today. Beth taught us how important our thyroid is and what we can do if we think there's a problem. From Sarah, we learned why everyone over 18 should have a will in place. I'm Kathy Heberly. Join us next week for another edition of Sisterhood of the Second Act.